I am probably more qualified to talk about this subject than anything else I've ever talked about. I have a lot of experience. Hey, I'm Ben. I'm a huge fly fisherman, and today we're going to talk about foul hooking fish. What is it? Why does it happen? And what can we do about it? We might get a little off track along the way, but it will be fun. So let's get started. Foul hooking, snagging, butt hooking, whatever you want to call it. It's when you hook a fish anywhere besides in the mouth. I've hooked fish everywhere, man. Cheeks, fins, sides, backs, tails, and every now and then you'll get one right in the bullseye. That's really kind of a notable experience when it's actually in the butthole. Take a picture next time. Now, unless you are a full-on troglodyte, foul hooking is accidental. If you've ever snagged a fish on purpose, even legally, you cannot consider yourself an angler or a sportsman. It's in the rule book. I looked it up. As I said, foul hooking is accidental. So how does it happen? Well, most of the time because you're too slow. I don't mean mentally, I mean you didn't set the hook quickly enough. The fish ate the fly while you were busy picking your nose, realized the fly was not food, and spit it out. After you did the roll and flick with your booger, the fly was drifting past the fish, and you finally set the hook, and sometimes you end up hooking them in the body somewhere because you were too slow. I think that's how foul hooking happens most of the time. And if your rig has multiple flies, then the odds of a fish getting foul hooked just goes up for reasons that I hope are obvious. I never know with you guys. So let's talk about multi-fly rigs for a minute, which is really why I wanted to make this video. In a recent video, I claimed that the rear fly on a tandem streamer rig is just a snagging hook. There were some comments on YouTube disagreeing with me, which is fine, but I posted that clip on Instagram and it really brought out all the whiny babies telling me I'm wrong. Again, fine, but let's talk about it. First of all, I should have been more clear. I was referring to tandem streamer rigs for trout fishing in rivers, and that's it. That's on me. I should have explained myself better. Dudes were telling me I'm an idiot because they've never snagged a striped bass in the ocean with their tandem streamer rig. Okay, fine. That's not what I was talking about. Other dudes are like, I fish my streamers 6 feet apart on tags and I've never snagged a fish. Those comments made me scratch my head a little bit. I mean, that's great, good for you, but streamers 6 feet apart? I can absolutely see how that's less snaggy, but what the hell kind of rig is that? Is that enjoyable to cast at all? Fly fishing is supposed to be fun. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that the people who disagreed with me aren't wrong, but we're talking about different things. I was more intrigued by the commenters with the brain asking how is a tandem streamer rig for trout in rivers and not 6 feet apart any different than a dry dropper rig or a double nymph rig? That is an excellent question. So let's talk about it. When a fish eats a streamer that's under tension, there's a good chance that it's going to hook itself even if you do nothing at all. Streamer eats can be a bit chaotic. You've got a trout trying to attack a fly, and there are at least 2 hooks right around them with a tandem rig that are under tension. There's a real good chance that fish is going to get butt hooked as a result of nothing that you did. With dry dropper or multiple nymph rigs, foul hooking is your fault. You set the hook poorly and snag that fish. So that's my whole argument. Tandem streamers inherently snag fish on their own. Dry dropper or double nymph rigs snag fish because of something that you did. That's my opinion. You can disagree with me if you want. I stand by what I said. I'm right, you're wrong. Okay, enough about that. Let's move on. What can we do to prevent foul hooking? As some have suggested, fish flies really far apart. There's not a chance I'm doing that. It's like those dudes who shove their rod all the way in the water down to the handle every time they strip a fly back to the boat. It's effective, but it's way too much work. I'm not doing it. Again, this is supposed to be fun. Well, what else can we do? Probably the best thing to prevent foul hooking is to pay attention. Watch your fly or bobber so you can set the hook quickly. That can be hard though, I get it. My attention span sucks too, and I'm easily distracted. Kingfisher flies up the river, I'm looking at it. Boat full of hot chicks floats by, I am not looking at my bobber. None of that is foolproof, and eventually you are going to butt hook a fish. A lot of times you can tell right away that it's not hooked fairly. You don't feel head shakes, it might feel like dead weight, maybe you'll feel some tail wiggles if it's hooked in the caudal fin. Sometimes you know it's snagged well before you see where the fish is hooked. A lot of times a foul hooked fish just feels giant. You don't have any leverage on him and he's using the river against you. You think you've got an 8-pound trout on, on, but it's just a 14-incher that's sideways in the current. These fish can be tough to land sometimes, and you may have to make an ethical decision. Sometimes instead of playing that fish until it's almost dead, the right thing to do is just break it off right away. It will have a better chance of survival. Now let's finish up with a philosophical question. Let's say you snagged a fish and landed it. Does it count? Is that a caught fish? First of all, who cares? But for me, if I really wanted to answer that question, if I can take it home and eat it, it's a caught fish. End of story. Tell me what you think. Does a snagged fish count? Again, I don't really care. It's just a topic of conversation. So that's gonna do it for this video about foul hooking. Thank you, as always, for watching another one of my huge fly fisherman videos. I will be back as soon as I can with another video about fly fishing for you. Until then, keep your eye on your fly and stay huge. There really is nothing like a foul hooked whitefish, but some of the more memorable foul hookings I've had where I landed like a 20 or 25 pound tarpon that was hooked in the eyeball. That was an interesting one. And then you may have seen the video last year, I caught my first muskie snagged in the back. Who does that? I do.